how do we get from what I suspect was a successful trip to creating this very big trip for your 80s? What was that plan?
That was Sandy's again.
So
Sandy,
yeah,
naughty thing, you.
Yeah.
Well, so we had taken 3 international trips besides the mission trips. And then, so that back when we were young in our 70s.
Yeah.
Then in anticipation of getting old and turning 80, I mentioned to Ellie one evening, wouldn't it be fun to go around the world in 80 days at age 80? Well, Ellie jumped on the bandwagon, we started making all of the arrangements. We had every hotel reservation made, every airline reservation made, and COVID shut it down that year.
Oh, darn it.
But COVID didn't shut us down.
No.
So we made it the following year, and our theme was around the world in 80 days
At 81 and still on the run.
I love it. Hi, friend. It's Daryn. Welcome to Call Me Friend, powered by Miss Lou's Cabin, an Airbnb property on a remote section of the Georgia coast. This is the podcast where we call a friend and you get one heck of an incredible story. You are getting a friendship story, friendship goals today. I came across these 2 women, Ellie Hamby and Sandy Hazelip, and I realized there's no way I could be doing a podcast that celebrates friendship and not call these 2 remarkable women. I tell my daughters all the time when they were growing up, I would say all sorts of relationships are important, but it is your girlfriends who will see you through. Those are the ones who you take the life journey with. And these are 2 fantastic girlfriends. And in fact, they're girlfriends that didn't really get to be close until well into their 60s. It's never too late to find that best friend. And these 2 best friends together have decided, well, they did decide, and they really are traveling the world. 80 countries, 80 days in their 80s. And they didn't let a little pesky thing like a worldwide pandemic get in the way of going for their goals. What is their secret? Where are they going next? And what's the secret to this remarkable friendship? There's one way to find out. Let's call the Traveling Nanas. This episode is powered by Miss Lou's Cabin, an Airbnb property on a remote section of the Georgia coast. Do you ever go to a beautiful resort and you long to know what this place looked like before they paved paradise and put up all those parking lots? Well, here's your chance. Miss Lou's Cabin sits on 7 private acres on a tidal saltwater marsh about 15 minutes south of Savannah, Georgia. It is a place so quiet that you don't even hear road noise. Instead, you're going to hear pink spoonbills, wild dolphins feeding off your private dock. I just saw some this morning. The breeze whistling through the Spanish moss that hangs from countless oak trees all around the property. And then there's this porch overlooking the marsh that is absolutely a perfect place to hang with your family and friends, read a zillion books, catch the sunrise, drink a great cup of coffee, all while you stay in a restored log cabin that has all the comforts and amenities of a beautiful home. Miss Lou's Cabin, check it out in the link below in our show notes, or simply Google Miss Lou's Cabin and you'll find this piece of paradise. Ellie and Sandy, hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm feeling the vibe already. We got the girlfriend color memo. We're all wearing the orange.
For sure, yes. All about these fall colors.
There was no memo. We just must have felt each other. It was like a girlfriend thing happening. I love it from the beginning. Thank you for taking my call and thanks for joining me today. I appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting us.
Yes.
So the thing that caught my attention and made me want to call you is something you cannot know. Well, you're about to know, but you would not know, is I love the name of the Traveling Nanas.
Oh, okay.
Because that's what I called both of my grandmothers. I had 2 nanas.
Oh, how
I love that.
Yes.
It's so amazing that our grandchildren call both of us nanas. And so it's just an unusual coincidence. It works perfect.
So you are Nana Ellie and Nana Sandy.
That's right.
And I had Nana Lil and Nana Ann.
Oh, good for you.
And it's so funny because, picking grandmother names is such a thing now. And what's it going to be? And it can't be what the other one wants. And
right. Mm-hmm.
But when we grew up, everybody was Nana and we knew who we were talking about. It wasn't a problem.
That's right. But you are so true. That's not the case now.
And the other thing I really love about your story, and we will get to all the travels and the adventures and all that kind of thing. But the thing that really touched my heart is how you are a late in life friendship.
Yes.
Yes.
And tell me what this came from. And I know you had met, but it kind of took a while to bond. And what brought you together?
Before my husband became ill and passed away, he had suggested that we start taking our grandchildren on mission trips in the summer. And I'm a busy doctor. I don't have time for mission trips, but I didn't say that to my husband. And I said, what kind of mission trips? And he said, well, I don't know, honey, but I'm sure there's something we could do that would be of benefit to missionaries, and it would be a great experience to our grandchildren. So he had planted that seed in my heart, and then he became ill and he died. So he had been dead for about 6 months, and I was really struggling. And I met a young doctor who told me that he was, the following weekend, going to a medical missions workshop in Dallas, Texas. So I thought, why did he tell me that? So I went to that medical missions workshop. But as I said, I was still really struggling with the loss of my husband. And I was looking around and I thought, I don't know. And then I saw this sign that said Africa, and I knew I didn't want to go to Africa. So,
I mean, come on, Africa, like the other side of the world. Let's not get carried away here.
Right. So I started walking toward the door, and this rich voice behind me said, hello, my name is Ellie Hamby. And I turned around, and his smiling wife was standing there next to him. And he asked me my name, and I said, well, my name is Sandy Hazelip. And they said, let us tell you about our mission work in Zambia. And I said, don't waste your time. I said, if I go on a mission trip, I need someplace very safe because I'm going to be taking grandchildren. In unison, they said, oh, Zambia is very safe. We take our grandchildren there every year. So that's how I started going to Zambia with a grandchild and met a most amazing woman I've ever met, who was one of the directors.
Oh.
She says she was one of the directors. Don't let her teach you. She directs the whole thing.
Give us the real tea, Sandy.
Yeah,
What's
so
the real
we were
tea
friends. She lived in another town. She was one of our doctors that was going. It was great. But we didn't really have a friendship. We were just, I would consider a friend, but not, that close. Then about 5 years after that, my husband, who was a professor at the university, was playing faculty tennis and had an accident and hit his head and died of a massive brain hemorrhage within about 24 hours. So that was total shock to me. And I was having a hard time adjusting to that. And I'm sure Sandy had called me, and I'm sure she was at his service and things. But about a month after that had happened, and I was still not always answering the phone because life just didn't seem right. And I get this phone call, and her first thing she said was, Ellie, have I got a deal for you? And I'm thinking, what? You rarely call someone who's lost their spouse or someone, have I got a deal for you? And so, of course, I said, what? And then she said, well, the Abilene Regional Hospital had contacted me about setting up a geriatric clinic at the hospital, and I'm going to do that. But I don't want to leave my home 60 miles away in Eastland.
Right.
So I need a bed a couple nights a week. If you'll give me a bed, I'll take you out to eat. Well, that was 21 years ago, and she's still spending a couple nights a week at my house. And it was then at that moment when she started staying at the house, we both realized we drank lots of coffee. We love staying up. We're workaholics. And while we are two totally different personalities, she's very sweet, gentle, nice, and I could be, in the British kind of words, kind of cheeky at times, and being a little more adventuresome and things. But what happened was we realized that we had the same outlook on life. We both were very positive.
Okay.
That meant that we figured we could figure out about everything. It was okay. We got this. We were just confident in ourselves.
Let me jump in here because I'm
Sure.
getting a sense of it's all true. So, not to totally sugarcoat it, you were two women who definitely grieved your husbands. So there definitely is
Right.
grief. There is grief here, but there
Yes.
also is this overarching feel and look out on life. And how do those come together? What do you do with grief and a positive outlook on life?
Well, one of the things we realized, and it did, and I think being together because of we kind of encourage each other,
Mhm.
that chapter in our life was closed. Donald Hazelip or Kelly Hamby is not walking back in that front door ever again.
Mhm.
And that chapter is totally closed, but the book is not over. And there are more things that you can do just because that horrific thing happened to both of us we were both young widows. I mean, I was a little bit older, 5 years older whenever my husband died than when Sandy's was. But I think and then we both actually I was busy working with the work in Zambia, and then Sandy, of course, continued with her practice. So we both individually had areas of that we were involved in that we did not
Right.
stop doing.
That got you out of bed.
Yeah,
So you could be
absolutely, got
sad
us
and
out
have
of
grief, but
bed.
you had purpose and you had a
Uh-huh.
reason to get out of bed. Let's get to the
That's
instigator. Let's
Yes.
get to the instigator here. Who instigated what started as travel? Who said, have I got a deal for you? Let's go do this
It's
thing.
so funny because I was a bigger traveler, but Sandy, she's the one.
Okay, so
Okay, what'd you do, Sandy?
well, Ellie had told me about all the trips she and her husband had taken, and it just sounded so amazing. So one evening, back when we were young and in our
70s, yeah.
early 70s, I said, Ellie, I have always wanted to ride the Trans Siberian train. Would you be interested in doing that? Well, she jumped on the bandwagon. So that was our first trip besides our mission trips. That was our first trip, was to go on the Trans Siberian train.
And it was just a given that we were doing second class. We both just never were thinking we're going on a budget so we can make this work and have fun. And
Right.
Of course, that was an absolutely humongous decision in our travels because we have loved every minute of being second class travelers.
Right.
And I do want to get to that choice in a bit, along with the money part of this, because I can see so many people listening and going, well, good for them. I don't have $1 zillion, so I can't go do what they do. So we'll get to that in a second.
Right.
How do we get from what I suspect was a successful trip to creating this very big trip for your 80s? What was that plan?
That was Sandy's again.
So
Sandy,
yeah,
naughty thing, you.
well, so we had taken 3 international trips besides the mission trips. And then so that back when we were young in our 70s.
Yeah.
Then in anticipation of getting old and turning 80, I mentioned to Ellie one evening, wouldn't it be fun to go around the world in 80 days at age 80? Well, Ellie
Yes.
jumped on the bandwagon, started making all of the arrangements. We had every hotel reservation made, every airline reservation made, and COVID shut it down that year.
Oh, darn it.
But
darn
COVID didn't
it.
shut us down.
No.
So we made it the
No.
following year, and our theme was around the world in 80 days
At 81 and still on the run.
I love it. So it's around the world, 80 days, and also all 7 continents. Was that part
Absolutely.
of
All
the
7
list?
continents,
Okay.
yes.
And you got the hardest one out of the way first.
Right.
That's a little more restrictive when you can go to the Antarctic. So you have just a few months there that is summertime there and safe enough to be able to get through the icebergs. So, yes, it was great.
And as I understand it, you really did it. Like you really did Antarctica.
Absolutely.
We really did it.
We stepped out on that soil in Antarctica and rode the Zodiac to get to the islands and things. Yes, it was super great. And of course, we also had the Drake Shake going through the Drake Passage to get to the Antarctic.
Tell me what that is. What's the Drake Shake?
Well, the Drake Shake is the Drake Passage, which is one of the most treacherous seas in the world. Thousands of people have lost their lives going through there. And so we were hoping for what they would say, you get the Drake Lake that's nice and smooth passing through. We got the Drake Shake. And we said we were a rocking and a rolling and a slipping and a sliding all for almost 2 days to get through the Drake Shake. But we made it.
Wait. 2 days? 2 days of that?
Yes, 2 days.
Did you lose your cookies?
Well, actually, one of them, yes, I did. But
okay,
Sandy
just call it what it is.
It was a small expedition ship that we were on, had about 60 passengers. And we were at the window, and, the table's bolted, the chairs are bolted, but nothing else is bolted. And we hit a rogue wave that hit the side of our ship, flipped it on its side, and everything, all the food, the cutlery, people came crashing down on Sandy and I. So that was quite the ordeal. But no broken bones, no big scratches or anything. We made it. So
here you are. Most people listen to this podcast. They listen on the audio platforms. Some people do watch on YouTube and video. So I will just say, if you're not watching on video, you need to know the ladies are telling the story with a huge smile on their face.
Yes.
Like they just walked into the biggest sale at Macy's or something. Like it wasn't that the coolest thing. Were you smiling then?
Actually, we just love adventure. We love fun things. Now that did get it was a little nervy as it's happening. You're not laughing.
Yeah.
Because you really don't know what's going on. But as minute we were all okay. On all of our adventures, whenever we do something, after it's all over, we look at each other and just say, wow, that was fun.
So from the bottom of the world, where did the fun continue? What direction did you go?
North.
Then we stopped at Easter Island.
I guess there's only one way to go. That's
from Antarctica, you're right. But we did stop off in Easter Island and Argentina, and those were really super. Easter Island is just an amazing place. And then we went north to the Northern Lights, Lapland.
We went from Antarctica to the Arctic Circle.
Whoa. Now, I knew you'd been to both places, but I didn't realize it was back to back.
Yes. The same. It was on the 80 days around the world, up and down and around.
And actually, the Arctic Circle was a whole lot colder than the Antarctic. It was -6 when we were at the Arctic Circle. Yes. It was so cold, but we managed.
We did.
Crazy.
I had
so
a few
you made
Walmart
it.
hand warmers, and that kind of helped just a tiny bit. But
all 7 continents. We went to, did we see
18
countries and 10 different
countries.
world wonders.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So,
and of course, you have to ask, it's the obvious question, each of you, which was your favorite place that you went on that trip?
Well, mine, I absolutely love the Antarctic. There's something about that place. It's just no human beings live there. You're not going to find any place else on Earth quite like it. To stand there and see the icebergs, the ice mountains, the penguins, the seals, all of that is just an absolutely awe moment.
But my favorite place was Island of Bali. I grew up in Fort Worth in a rather poor family. Nobody had pretty lawns. And so when we would get together with families, we would go to the botanical gardens of Fort Worth.
Right.
And that was my comfort zone and my peace time. So when I landed on the island of Bali, it was one huge, one after another botanical gardens. And I thought, oh my gracious, I just felt the most awesome feeling that you could imagine.
So you mentioned family, which brings another obvious question. What do the kids think of the grandmas, the nanas doing this? Do they worry about you?
You tell them yours, Sandy.
Well, okay. My children are a little protective about me.
Well, you're a treasure, obviously.
And I so with one of my daughters, she has me on Life 360 so that she can see where I am every moment. And and if she's and I gave her an itinerary of our trip before we left.
Right.
And if that wasn't matching what she thought, then she contacted me. So
Worse than being a teenager and having your parents check up on you.
Right.
Truly.
Now, mine weren't so particular because I lived in Africa for 6 years. They were used to their
know who
mom
they
doing
got.
wild and strange things. So if I had to be out of contact a couple days or 3, then I think they might start checking up on me. Say, okay, where are you? What's going on? So, but anyway, it's always fun to watch the anxiety in Sandy's kids' faces and emails and things.
Like, oh, won't it be fun to see what Sandy's kids are going to say about this? Yes, this will really get them going. This is not to say that everything went perfectly. You have had some pretty wild adventures, including, as I understand, being a witness to a crime. Tell me about that.
On the Trans Siberian, and we were second class, and we had left Lake Baikal, and we were going to Mongolia, and our whole car seemed empty when we got on it. And before, it was just filled. It was second class, filled with Chinese, Russians. Everybody was talking in and out of our compartment and things. We had so much fun. It seemed like nobody was on there, and we get to the Mongolian border, and they asked for passports. And then just shortly after that, they asked for passports again. I said, Sam.
Down the hall.
I said, there's someone here. There's someone in this car. So I walked down, and there's this man, a Russian man, on his bed. The bed's still up. He's in pajamas. His hair is all disheveled. And I see him. I try to kind of make eye contact, but he is totally ignoring me. So I leave, and I go back to Sandy, and I call him Pajama Man. I said, there's Pajama Man down there. I don't know anything about him. Then pretty soon, here came the KGB in the Pajama Man's compartment, went through everything, ceiling tiles and all of that, and Pajama Man leaves in handcuffs. So
so he was alive. He wasn't a dead body.
No, he wasn't.
Suspicious,
no, he was alive,
but not a dead body.
Handcuffs.
Okay.
Shortly thereafter, what do they do to us?
They come and start going through our luggage and taking the ceiling tiles out of our compartment to look for things.
Because they figure we must be in cahoots with the Pajama Man. Because he's obviously done something. They found nothing. We were really worried that maybe Pajama Man had stashed something in our compartment, but he hadn't. They didn't find anything, and then they leave us. And of course, this was only supposed to be a 2-hour stop, and now it's going on. I think totally about 8 or 9 hours we were there at the train station. Of course, they still had they took our passports and didn't bring them back for a long time. Then this big old burly KGB woman comes at our door, and she basically says, "You only witnesses to crime." And of course, what did we say? What crime?
And she says...
So it's a broken English. So there's not a lot of English happening.
So.
And your Russian is not the top game right now, right?
Oh, no.
And in her broken English... In her broken English, she says, we found I don't know English word, goes in a gun. And I said, a bullet? Duh!
Big bullet.
Big bullet.
So anyway, the crime was connected with a gun and a bullet. And then she said, you only witnesses. And we said, what crime? We don't really know the crime, but that made no difference to the KGB. And she said, so we have to have all of your information. And so because you have to come back to testify. And I've been telling you what, you're in the middle of Siberia and the KGB wants to know your phone number, address. What are you going to do?
Give it to
them for sure.
Everything.
Anyway, we're still waiting. Have they called back?
No,
they haven't called back, so we're good. But anyway,
good for now.
That moment was when we realized, wow, we can travel together, because that was very traumatic experience, and we were neither one crying. What are we going to do?
Yeah, we just.
And I was sending a silly email to the kids, including Sandy, saying, look, there's been a crime on the Trans Siberian. Been KGB. If you don't hear from us in 2 or 3 days, you figure we're in a Siberian prison. Well, Sandy, they didn't hear from us because we didn't have internet for 2 or 3 days. Sandy's son was just totally beside himself, ready to call Interpol, I think, because there was no contact. Last he heard that we might be in a Siberian prison.
He didn't quite see the humor. Let me just say, if you get a call from the KGB while we're having this talk, go ahead and take the call.
We'll do that.
I will understand. Okay, we'll reschedule.
First things first.
That. On top of that, in the midst of your travels, you find yourself in the middle of let's call it an unexpected war.
That's right.
Oh, yes, ma'am. This is very true. We, in 2011, we are in Syria, and when the war broke out. And we had actually taken a bus out of Damascus about 2 hours before the first shots were fired.
Mm-hmm. A public bus. We took public buses all through Syria. It's quite the experience, quite fun. They're very nice buses. Everyone was very cordial. And we were going to the Syrian desert, where we had read somewhere in some travel book that if you wanted to sleep in a Bedouin tent in the Syrian desert, non-touristy, contact Muhammad. We contacted Muhammad. And yeah, there's lots of Mohammeds there. And Muhammad was wonderful. I mean, in fact, he's the one that finally got us out of the country after the war. The war had started while we were sleeping in a Bedouin tent out in the Syrian desert. And then we had to figure out how to get out, how to get some money, because they didn't take ATM cards, or the credit cards were in Palmyra at that time. And it was Muhammad who told us. We went, broke through, we got permission. The armed guards with their AK-47 were lining the square in Damascus. And that was where the only ATM machine was. But he really said, go early in the morning before I think the fighting all starts. And then our driver talked to him and allowed us to, after about 10 minutes, they put down their guns, allowed us to go through and get our money. We did. And then Muhammad had told us, there will be a white unmarked car on the side of the road, and a man will be standing outside it with the door open. When you see that scenario, you get in that car and it'll get you out of the country. And it did.
And you did
we
it?
We saw it, yes.
You did it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, what else are you going to do? I mean, that was
what else are you going to do?
A lot of choices. And you're here, so I'm going to assume everything
everything worked fine. Yes, it did.
All right. Well, there you go. There you go on that. So let's go deep on a few things. First of all, I guarantee you 98% of people listening to this call are thinking, well, good for Ellie and Sandy, but I don't have billions and billions of dollars. This must cost a ton of money. So let's talk about the money part of this.
Okay.
How are you doing it? Yeah.
Well, first of all, when we averaged up the whole 80 days that we were gone, the average for our hotel was $29 a piece per night. And that usually included breakfast the next morning.
Which you would spend going to Starbucks. I mean, staying home.
Right.
Staying home.
And we did not do tours. We did everything ourselves, which is different. We love that because we love to be in charge of what happens to us. And
as much as you can. As we've seen, you can't entirely be in charge.
We plan all of our own excursions, and normally we do it in the country where we are because it's much cheaper, and generally they work very well that way. And we're not big foodies. Okay, so we're not out there looking at this cuisine and all this. We just want to try local foods, but most of the time your local food is very reasonable because that's what the people are paying. But that's how we did budget, and we did our flights with a One World. They have a certain segments, a One World Alliance, and
around the world.
And that worked really, really well. We got a much, much cheaper that way.
Not only that, I actually had one lady who said to me exactly what you said. Well, I wish I could afford to go around the world.
Yeah, la-di-da.
And I said, you bought a brand new car this year, and your brand new car cost more than my trip around the world.
And it was a budget car.
It's about choices. Speaking of which, with choices,
go ahead.
You're making choices. A lot of the choices you're making aren't just about money. Like I could say, here's a check for $10 million. You still would choose to travel the way that you travel. Tell me about the choice to travel what you call second class.
Well, one of the reasons we do the second class is that's where we meet the people.
Right.
We did do a tour to New Zealand that was gifted to us through the Drew Barrymore show when we were on that. And they gave us a free 18-day round trip, everything covered.
That was this year.
That was this year. That was wonderful. But you know who we met? Only tourists. But when Sandy and I are traveling by ourselves, we just meet the most wonderful people. We're invited in their homes. They're great friends from now on. And they just seem to be more than willing to help us.
A mother with 5 daughters, and I told them my grandmother had 5 daughters, so they engulfed me and had our pictures made together, and the lady said, "I'm your other grandmother." So
your other Nana, or no other granddaughter. So really, the encounters you have with the people and the locals mean even more than the great sights that you've seen. And you have seen the greatest sights in the world.
We have seen them, but the thing that touches us the most is the people that we meet. And we are just really strong believers in the goodness of humanity. So many people are scared that every stranger or everyone from a different culture is out to get you or something. But really, we know there are bad people out there. But the goodness in this world far outweighs the bad. And we just need to open our arms and our hearts to those people. And it doesn't matter their religious beliefs, their political beliefs, what culture they're from, the color of their skin. We're all made the same. We all have the same human feelings. Each one of us does. And we just need to let the world come into our hearts, and it just changes your life.
Absolutely. When we were in Syria, I had a period of time when Ellie was off taking some pictures, and our guide was talking to me, and he talked about our travels, and he said, "So you've traveled a lot. What do you think about people all over the world?" And I said, "Well, here's what I have discovered. Throughout the whole world, mothers are mothers, fathers are fathers, toddlers are toddlers, and teenagers are teenagers."
And we'll let that one speak for itself.
Yes. No comment needed.
So you share this common value when you head out on these adventures, that you are trusting the world, the people you will meet they're in your interest. They are there for you. This is what you go looking for, and this is what finds you.
Right? That's true. Now, that doesn't mean that every single encounter has been wonderful, okay? That would not, we definitely have had some not so good encounters. Nothing that was really, mostly was involved in money and taxi drivers and things, but that we got cheated in Rome, and that was really embarrassing. That gullible enough I was with that. And he was such a nice man, and he just seemed like, want to talk about families and all the right things, but no, he was a little bit out there. It cost us, I think that one was about $250 that we lost dealing with a taxi ride with.
But that is nothing compared to all of the good people that we met. Tell them about the one that returned your money that was lost.
And yes, we know. I mean, we're not naive to know that every experience you're ever going to have in your life is wonderful. It just doesn't happen.
Right.
And we do
That's
have
life.
those but the good ones. Yes, we were in Australia, and we'd staying at this hotel, and we'd flown all night, been on the morning show on the #1 TV station in Australia that morning as soon as our flight arrived. And then we were pretty tired, so we thought we'd take a nap. We'd never taken a nap on the whole 80 days. It's toward the end of it, but we thought we would. We went to sleep and put on our PJs, and then all of a sudden the alarm started to go off. Fire, evacuate now, and smoke was filling our room. And so, we just went barefoot, grabbed our backpacks, because always keep everything important in your backpack, because if you have to leave in a hurry, because we're not taking any luggage down those flights of stairs, I guarantee you. But we grabbed our backpacks, went down the stairs, went out on the lawn while they were working on the fire. They did get it out after about an hour or so, but we were out there and been out there about an hour and maybe 45 minutes or so. And this elderly woman that we had seen cleaning in the hall, I mean, she was going around with her cart in the hallway before when we got to the hotel. She came up to me, and she had 300 Australian dollars in her hand, and she said, "I believe you you dropped these going down the flight of stairs.
Oh.
And I looked and my forgot to zip my backpack. And number one thing I won't do again. And my money fell out on the flight of stairs going down. But, she did not. She was a cleaning lady. She was an older lady, too. She needed, that she could have easily kept that money.
And no one would have known.
But
she returned
again, just another example of the goodness of humanity.
So you share these values, and yet, as I understand it, you two, and I can pick it up just from talking to you from this call, that you have different personalities. It's not, you're not totally the same person.
No,
you're not going to want to do the same thing every place you go.
No, in fact, we don't. And I think that's one reason why our friendship works well. You'd have to learn to give each other space. And that's basically it. And you accommodate their needs. I know what Sandy's going to like. She knows what I like. And if I want to go zip lining in New Zealand, she's perfectly fine, but she's not going to do that. She'll go get her some cup of coffee and book or whatever and enjoy what she enjoys, and I'll enjoy what I enjoy. So I think when not putting pressure on the other person to conform to your personality or your needs is a real key in our friendship, that you just have to give each other space.
And no two jigsaw puzzle pieces are exactly alike, but they fit together to form a beautiful picture.
Which is such a beautiful thought. Is that, what would you say, looking back, when you were at your saddest place after each of your husbands died, what would you say to the sad part of you then from where you sit today?
Ellie, you want to go first?
Well, sure.
Okay, whatever you want.
Yes. I think the sad part is, what is life about? What can I do? Because we did things together, and all of a sudden, life is you. Whenever you have a really good marriage and you all share, you're the best friends, you do everything together. That's the hardest thing, that all of a sudden it's you. And you have to make do with what, and we both were married to very strong, powerful husbands that were very, were very, very successful, very much leaders in anything they did. But they were so interesting. They were both very empowering to us, our husbands never knew each other.
No.
But they were in different professions, but they were very similar on their outlook in life.
Right.
What's next?
Oh, well, we're not through. We've still been making trips, right, Sandy?
Right. So when we finished Around the World in 80 days, and that worked out so well, we decided that we would, and we went to all 7 continents, but we didn't have much time in each continent. So we decided that each year we would start going back to one continent at a time and seeing more of the intricacies of that continent. So
what have you done?
The first year after we got back, that first year, then we went to South America.
And in South America, we went to the Amazon because we loved going off the beaten path. Now, we did go to a bunch of big cities and things in South America, and we did have the privilege of Hilton Hotels contacting us before we left and saying, a little birdie tells us you're going to South America. Hilton would love to give you free Hilton stays.
Lovely.
So,
We'll take that. We
enjoy
the free.
For sure. Budget travelers, zeros, best, wonderful. But when we went to the Amazon, that was on us.
Yeah.
We stayed in a jungle lodge. We went alligator hunting
and piranha
fishing, and I went swimming with the pink dolphins. We climbed Machu Picchu.
Yes.
And so we did all of that. And then
we
this year,
the
Galapagos, yes.
Okay.
Kayaking and all kinds of stuff. Then after that trip, that was when we were 82. So when we were 83 in January, February this year, we went to
the continent of Oceania. And so we went to Papua New Guinea and New Zealand and Fiji and Australia. When we got back from our Around the World trip, we were contacted by a literary agent from New York City.
New York City?
Yes. She said she had been following us on all the news media and social media, and she said, and this story needs to be a book, and I want to be your agent. So
yeah, we
go
checked
from
her out. She was former vice president of Simon and Schuster. She had several best-selling books as an agent for, and so. And we're West Texas women, and it's a little different than West Texas women and New York City women. I'm not sure where you're from, Daryn, but there's a difference. But anyway, it's been great. So we signed with her as our agent, and she told us to, start doing a proposal.
You were able to sign, and you have a book deal, and now the book is out.
Yes. And actually,
here
our book
we go.
Right. Here we go. Here it is. And I have to reverse that. But here we go. And what happened on that, we were featured in the New York Times Sunday edition. And the week after that, then Penguin Random House, the executive editor from Penguin Random House, contacted us and said, we just read this story. This has to be a book, and we want to be your publisher. And they offered us a very nice deal to sign with them, and we did. And now it's all here. And our cover was designed by a famous illustrator from France. And it's got our Bali swing that was such an instrumental part of our journey and things. But it's really a book full of living life to the fullest, finding a friend, being a friend. Don't be afraid. Just say yes. And all kinds of encouragement for people to, what do you tell them, Sandy, get out of that?
I say, get up out of your easy chair. Step out of your comfort zone. Make a list of things to do and live.
Yeah.
Live. Those are great marching orders. And we'll have a link to the book, obviously, in our show notes so people can find you easily. Another place to find you, and this is also a place where I became friends with you even before you knew that I existed, and that's on TikTok.
Absolutely.
80-something ladies have a huge TikTok following.
Where did you learn how to be so great on social media?
Well, we actually, we had someone who was back in the States that I was sending photos, videos, and we were writing things for them to post. It was actually their idea about 3 weeks before our round the world trip was over to do TikTok, and they did. And she did one of some photos that we sent her, some videos of some of our wild adventures. And it actually, about 2 weeks after we started our TikTok account, our first video that video had 6.4 million views. And so now we have quite a huge following on TikTok.
You sure do.
And it's been crazy. So no, we're always trying to figure out, we're getting ready to do a little post afterwards here on something. And so we're always trying to figure out TikTok videos. It's kind of fun, and it's so interesting in our audience because we do feel like we have related to all age groups, because TikTok, which is our largest following, has mostly the young people 17, 18 to 26. Then Instagram is that next age up. And to the TikTok followers, it's almost 95% about friendship.
There you go.
It's just so interesting. They're tagging their bestie. This has got to be us, and this sort of thing. And then Instagram is the middle age kind, not really that, but early middle age. And they're more about, we are inspiring them to do something, to not give up, and
to get up and live,
just because you're getting old. And then our Facebook following, which is we have a nice following there too. And that one is more older people, where we've just given them joy. So it's very
well, we got to help the
interesting.
older people too.
Yes. Our social media has crossed all age groups.
But
our biggest following is the younger people.
And I found you on TikTok. I don't think that makes me a younger person. I think that just means I think it's the friendship. I think, if you have a podcast called Call Me Friend, you're going to find somebody
when you popped up and said, Call Me Friend, I thought, well, we have to fit this one.
Well, I really, really appreciate it. Before I let you go, I need to ask you a couple of questions that I ask everyone that I call. And the first one is, who is the friend? It might be an obvious choice, but it might be somebody else. Who is the friend that changed your life or that the world needs to know about?
May I speak?
Yeah.
Please.
Ellie is the friend that changed my life. I'm going to quickly tell you, my husband was wonderful, and his idea of camping out was staying at the Holiday Inn instead of the Hilton Hotel.
Okay. That was roughing it. That was roughing it.
That was roughing it for him. So when I met Ellie and heard about the trip she and her husband had taken, I thought, that just sounds so fun. And as she has already said, I'm not the adventuresome person that she is, or I was not. And she has helped me to step out of my comfort zone and to do things that I never dreamed I would do, or at least watch her do some things.
Yeah, we both talk about, often we talk about what our life would have been if we hadn't met and hadn't become good friends, because really we both changed each other's life. It wasn't one of us, although it was interesting. Sandy was always the one that first reached out to the medical mission conference. Then she reached out to me when my husband died. And she was the first one to talk about going on a trip that while I had already traveled extensively, but really I think, our friendship cemented our faith in humanity and in Christianity, and I think it also we realized that we shared so many common goals and so many of views on life. And if you can find a friend like that, and we may not agree politically, but that doesn't make you don't have to agree on everything that you do. And so I think we both have always felt like, what would life have been like if we hadn't met after our husbands had died? It's been totally different. And what's happened to us is we never dreamed in a million years we'd ever have all this happen.
No.
And people and all this never, ever gave it a thought that this would happen.
You give so much hope to somebody who will be listening today, who's lonely and who's sad, and that just even have the hope, a possibility that there's an Ellie or a Sandy in their future. But there's only that if you reach out, right?
You're not
going to
have
sitting on your couch.
That's exactly right. You're not going to find this is very rare do you find me. You've got to reach out, give of yourself, and meet others. Mm-hmm.
It didn't happen to you. You ladies made it happen. And then I also like to end on a totally superficial note. Mm-hmm. What is the thing that you're recommending to friends? So it could be a book, a show, a beauty product, a social media account, the thing where you say to a friend, oh, you have to check this out.
Oh, well, of course, we're always recommending our book right now. That's our main thing.
Obviously the book.
We just came from a book signing this morning. So, because it does exemplify and
let me tell you, my favorite story, a lady called me who was reading our book. She was halfway through the book. And she said, I'm halfway through your book, and I can't stand the thought that it's ever going to come to an end. She said, I'm having so much fun reading it. I don't want it to end. So that was
what that means.
I love that.
We need a sequel. There needs to be a sequel.
There you go.
It needs to be number 2. I hope the book companies are listening.
Right. There you go.
Thank you so much. Well, you are busy ladies. You are incredible ladies. You are wonderful Nanas. I so enjoy our call, and just thank you for making time to speak with me and for spreading joy around the world.
Thank you. You've been great fun to talk with.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right back at you, ladies.
There you go.
Okay. Thank you so much. Talk soon.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, friend. The traveling Nanas, Ellie and Sandy, weren't they amazing? They remind me of, so many things. First of all, I'm very lucky to have a tight-knit group of women friends, about 10 of us. And we call ourselves the Pretty Ladies. Not because we're like, mwah, mwah, aren't we beautiful? But because we enjoy the pretty, and because we embrace the positive, and we support each other. And Ellie and Sandy, if I ever met a pretty lady, boy, oh boy, it is you two. Also, I have the same best friend from the first day of kindergarten, Cindy. And we long have had this understanding that once everyone's gone, it's going to be me and Cindy. And whether we're traveling together or living together, we were there at the beginning. We are going out together. And so for Ellie and Sandy, it's like me and Cindy. So who is it for you? Who is that friend who you could or would or do that you traveled the world with? Who is it? I would love to know. You can give me a call and tell me about it. I'm going to give you my phone number in a second. But before I tell you to call me, I think you need to call that friend and tell them about this episode and say, this is how I feel about you. And I hope that this podcast can help you connect with that friend. Okay, so in order to get in touch with me for that or any other reason, you can call me. I have a number. It is 912-766-0446. You can call and leave a message. You can text that number. You can do it 24 hours a day because I don't hear it ring, but I would really love to hear from you about who is that friend? Who would you go on this around the world trip with? And who is that friend who's going to pick you up and see you through your grief and your hard times? And who is that friend who the world needs to know about? Let me know at that number. And even more importantly, let that friend know, let that girlfriend, that boyfriend know that you're my Sandy or Ellie. So we'll have the phone number in the show notes, also a link to their book. And I have one more thing to tell you. One more thing that you can do for me, friend. If you could like or share or comment anything like that for this podcast, it is such a help. It will help support Call Me Friend and help me find and talk to more of the Ellie and Sandys of the world, talk to more of your friends. This podcast game is no joke. We're working really hard to build this audience. And friend, you could really help me if you would just do that. Like, share, or subscribe, or comment. It's all good. So appreciate you. Chat soon. You've been listening to Call Me Friend. Executive producers for this show are Callan Kagan and me, Daryn Kagan. Could not do this show without my great team. Produce Your Podcast and Journeys Inc. Production by Abe Fallick, Tammy Gagno, and Rob Paw.
Before you go, Call Me Friend is more than a podcast, it's a community. So head over to callmefriendpodcast.com to join the conversation. Or you can call or send a text to 912-766-0446, and you can leave Daryn a message there, or maybe even share a story of your own. Because when life gets real, you don't have to go it alone. Call a friend. Call this friend.